Hello, 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 and welcome. So today I'm gonna be cooking up one of my favorite recipes. It's super simple, it's super delicious and creamy, and it is really good for you. So I'm gonna be making a vegan creamy pesto pasta. It's gonna be gluten-free, vegan, and the sauce actually is raw, so you can put it on zoodles or you can put it on spaghetti squash, so you can actually have a raw meal if you want to. So let's get going. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my water boiling, and I'm gonna put my pasta in there once it's nice and boiling. And it doesn't really matter what pasta you use, but I prefer a brown rice pasta. I go through a bunch of different kinds of brands. I believe this one's from Trader Joe's. So super simple, I mean, just a delicious pasta brand. And the key is how you cook the pasta, because sometimes it can get kind of pilly and grainy and like it just falls apart if it's gluten-free, but you want to make sure to stay on top of how you cook it. So now that my water is boiling, I'm just going to pop my pasta in there, and I'm about to make 2 servings, one for me and one for Ace. And I'm just going to give that a nice stir so that it stays apart. And I'm going to want to keep my eye on that for a little bit, just to make sure that it's not boiling over, or make sure that it's not going to overcook or anything like that. So while we're doing that, hold on just a second, I'm going to do something real quick. Hello, hello, hello. All right. So I am going to write down a little description of what's going on. Pesto pasta today. Okay, so, all right. So now that this is cooking, while you're letting your pasta cook, you can actually start working on your sauce, which is the main part of the dish. So what I'm gonna do is I have some fresh basil, I have cashews, I have some minced garlic, some nutritional yeast, some lemon juice, some different kinds of seasoning that I'll walk you through, and of course basil and spinach, and some cashew milk too. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my cashews. I'm gonna use about a cup of them. So you can put that on the food processor. You know, some people like to let their cashews soak. Personally, I skip that step and nothing bad has ever happened. So then I'm gonna pour in a little bit of my cashew milk. This is gonna make it really creamy. And also this helps with making sure that it's not grainy. You want it to be very smooth and delicious. So I poured about half a cup in there. I'm gonna pour in a little bit more. You want it to cover the nuts, but you don't want it to be drenching in the cashew milk. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in my spinach. This is another great way to get some nutrients into the sauce, and it's also another way to make it even a deeper, delicious green color. So I'm gonna put that in there, and then I have some fresh basil. I'm gonna take that off of the stems, and let's see, just peel off a couple pieces of those. And you're actually gonna save some and put some aside. So I'm gonna put in about a handful of the basil, and this is ultimately what gives it its incredible flavor, is going to be the basil, and of course the seasoning and things like that. So once you're done with that, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw in my garlic. Now I love garlic so much, so I'm gonna put in a big helping of it. That's about 2 tablespoons of garlic, and that's what I personally like. But it just depends on how much you like garlic. If you don't like garlic, hello, and thank you for joining. The next thing I'm gonna put in is some nutritional yeast, and I'm gonna just sprinkle some on the top. This is gonna give it a nice cheesy flavor. Everybody loves nutritional yeast. I swear by it. I put it on top of everything. And then I'm just gonna put in a splash of lemon juice. Sometimes I don't use the lemon juice, but for this recipe, I'm gonna put some in. And that's about a teaspoon that I put in there. And then I'm gonna get some olive oil. My mom actually gave this to me for Christmas. She was like, "You're a caterer, you should be able to use this." And I was like, that was a perfect gift to give me. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of olive oil. Now, you don't have to use oil. I found that if you want a lighter version, you can not do oil, or if you're gonna do it 100% raw vegan, you don't have to use the olive oil. You can just use cashew milk, or you can use coconut water even. If you just wanna kind of cut back on the calories and things like that, you can do that too. Next thing I'm gonna add is going to be some onion powder. Just gonna put a little sprinkle of that in there. This is just gonna enhance the flavors that we already have going on. And then I'm gonna add in some garlic powder. And this is also, ooh, nice. This is also gonna enhance the flavors. Now, I probably put about a teaspoon of each of those in there, but I eyeball everything I do. So kind of go what works for you. If you're better at measuring things, then I would measure out exactly how much you need. But personally for me, I just love throwing it in there and kind of making it up as I go along. So the next thing I'm gonna add is some fresh pepper. Put that on top. And I'm also checking in on my pasta. Looks like it's boiling. So after the pepper, I'm gonna go check that out real quick, just to make sure we're right on schedule. All right, oh, perfect. Okay, so it's boiling, and you wanna make sure that with gluten-free pasta, you wanna make sure that none of the pieces stick together, or else it can get just kind of gross. You want it to be as close to normal pasta as it can be, and my rule of thumb is I want to convince people that it's not vegan, so they're eating just a meal, but it happens to be vegan and it happens to be incredibly delicious. So the next thing I'm gonna put in is some salt, and depending on how much salt you like, depending on if you enjoy a lot of salt, less salt, I personally have a really, 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 really salty tooth, if that is a thing. I don't really know, but I love salt. I put it on everything. Ace likes less than I do, but I love salt because I really feel like the right balance of it just brings the whole dish into the next level. So this is now, what I'm gonna add is my little secret weapon. I add it to almost everything just to give it another kind of dimension of flavor. It's gonna be some maple syrup. It's awesome. I put it in smoothies, I put it in my cashew cheese, I put it in my nacho cheese, I put it in almost everything. I put it on potatoes sometimes. A little bit of maple syrup will just kind of give it that sweetness that the dish always needs in the back. So just gonna pour in a little bit, and honestly, I wouldn't even do a teaspoon, just maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon if we're being exact, but I just put some on top. So next, so I'm using a food processor. You can also use a blender if you want to. For me, I have this food processor and it also comes with a blender, but I like it better for the pesto because I like how the consistency of it comes out. So before I go in and I'm going to blend these all up, I'm gonna check on my pasta again. So you always wanna make sure that it is doing well. And it looks like it's cooking, so that's good, good sign. And okay, that should be good. I'm gonna turn down the heat a little bit, just so it doesn't overcook itself while we're doing this. Okay, so you're gonna blend it up. Pretty simple. Blend things up, and here we go. Oh man, it smells so good. It smells so good. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more coconut milk just because I want it even smoother than it is right now. Right now, the cashews are still a little bit thicker than I want them to be, so I'm gonna thin it out a little bit and just add a little bit of my cashew milk. And then to balance out me watering it down with the cashew milk, I'm gonna add some more salt and pepper. Because I wanna make sure that this is not bland. If anything, you don't wanna be feeding people bland vegan food. Like, that's just a crime. Don't do that. So always make sure that you've got the flavors right. Because then, I mean, that's all cooking really is at the end of the day. I'm gonna add in some more pepper. So typically my rule for gluten-free pasta is 12 minutes on heat and then 12 minutes sitting without it. But it depends on the brand of pasta, really, and also the kind of pasta you're using. And yeah, so let's get this blended. Let's get this blended up again. It's just so fresh. I mean, it really is something that you can put on sandwiches, you can put it on pasta, and it always comes out super fresh and super, super, super delicious. So that is looking really, really good. And if you want, some people like their pasta a little darker. They like more greenery in it. I'm not mad with the way that mine came out. I enjoy it a little bit lighter. I think it's fun. So let's check on our pasta and see how we're doing. All right, okay, cool. It looks good. The pasta looks pretty good. Okay, so something I also always do, and this is kind of standard when it comes to making pasta, is I always like to take a piece out about when I think it's about done, and then I'll just try it and see if it still needs some cooking. Because there's a really fine line between overcooked and underdone gluten-free pasta, and you just never want it overdone or else it's just not appetizing. So I'm gonna try this out and see if the noodles are good. I can already tell there's still a little, yeah, they still need a little bit more cooking. So we're gonna give that more cooking. And actually, while I'm here, let me just keep this blended a little bit longer. Yes, I love my Ninja food processor. It is incredible. Before this, I don't know what I was doing with my life. But, okay, cool. So we're gonna wait on the pasta for a little bit longer, but while we're waiting for that, I am going to cut up a few pieces of some fresh basil, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that as garnish, because you want your meal to look pretty. So I'm just gonna, here, I'll come up close. So what I do when I cut basil is I always lay out the pieces right on top of each other, and then I roll them up just like this, rolling it up into like a tube of sorts. So just like that. And then what I'll do is I'll just get my kitchen scissors and I'll just start cutting thin strips. And I'll come up there and show you all too. Oh, they're gonna look so pretty. Okay, cool. All right, so what I do is I just cut up some thin strips, and these are gonna go on as garnish. Now, sometimes what I'll do too is I'll put on some cheese. I really, really, really love most vegan cheeses. I don't have a problem with any of the brands, but for this meal, I'm gonna keep it super, super clean, and we're just gonna use the fresh basil as garnish, so. All right, this is gonna taste so good. All right, let's see how our pasta's doing. All right. So it's been about time for it to cook on warm. So I'm gonna turn the heat off and let it just sit there for a little bit, just so that you can also save electricity. Honestly, it's a great way to save energy if you turn off your oven while your pasta is still cooking, because at the end of the day, the water is still warm, it's still boiling, and it just saves a little bit of energy and you're helping the world a little bit more. So, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna clear things out and get us ready to plate up our delicious creamy cashew pesto pasta. Okay. All right, so I made this recipe when I was raw vegan. I ate raw vegan for 2 years, and I did it while I was living in Los Angeles. And of course, it was super easy because everything had a raw vegan option, and I was of course learning how to make all these different kinds of recipes. And this is one that I kind of created on my own, and I really liked what I did, and so here we are today making the same thing. And what I used to do is I put it on zucchini noodles, which was really, really good, and then I put on some sun-dried tomatoes, which everyone loves sun-dried tomatoes, and that's what I typically did. So let's get the pasta going. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's ready now. So, oh yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna strain this out over here, I think. And what I use to strain is actually something you're supposed to use to fry, but details, details, this works for me. Whatever works for you in the kitchen. Yes. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so here's my bowl. I'm gonna mix everything up in here. I'm just gonna get out some pasta. It's perfectly cooked, and I'll come show you all. So you can see that the pasta is nice and warm, but it also still retains its shape. And what's great about this pasta, this is Trader Joe's brand, it really holds up, even with different sauces on top of it. It's really awesome. So we're just gonna put on our pesto sauce, and then we'll garnish, and then we'll be able to eat. And that's obviously my favorite part. So depending on however much you like, I'm gonna start off with about half of the batch I made. And there we go. I'll just put this right here. And then I'm just gonna mix and fold this all in. Yes. Oh, it smells so good. Oh my gosh, wow. It just has such a fresh flavor. Basil is so incredible. I put it in lasagna. I'll make like a raw lasagna with zucchini and with sun-dried tomatoes. I love sun-dried tomatoes. With avocado, and I'll make some walnut meat, and I'll put in, sometimes I'll put in this pesto sauce too. Okay, awesome. So everything's covered up, and I'm just gonna plate it in my plate, because y'all know it's lunchtime, and your girl's got to eat. And then I have my fresh basil, and then just to make it beautiful, because every meal I like it to look appealing and appetizing. And there we have it. All right, the final moment, the taste test. Oh, and it's so warm. Oh, I'm so excited. Yes. Oh my gosh. Look at it. It is so good. So you can see that I have the sauce covered all over it. It's creamy, it's hearty, it's full of protein, plant protein to be specific, and it's delicious, it's gluten-free, and I hope you enjoy. So there you go. Now you know how to make creamy pesto pasta. Make it gluten-free or any kind of allergy-free if you want to. Like I said, you can make it 100% raw, vegan, and just make it with zucchini noodles, or squash noodles are good too. Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this now. Thanks for watching. Bye.